Well, Kogemaru, it's great that you joined us today. Now, will you please explain to me and our audience over this wonderful camera, who are probably watching us at home on the tellies, how do you know so much about Dylan Thomas's literary movement?
Well, Eric Senpai, we have scroll passed down from many generations to our clan, and it explains Dylan Thomas poetry. Behold, summoning technique! Behold an ancient scroll. You see the postmodern period of literature. It started around the end of World War II because very bad things happened that made people depressed, like the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and many deaths. And writers, they became more and more concerned with life and death, and you can see that it became a lot more realistic and dark.
Simply fascinating.
Yes, and Dylan Thomas, he's a fine example of postmodern literature.
So, about the time that postmodern era started to take over, Hitler's war machine between the 1930s and 1940s was starting to take hold of Europe, is that correct?
Boy.
Now, how did they manage this? How did they do such a thing so easily?
Well, Senpai, they used a special technique newly developed called Blitzkrieg! Around the same time, maybe 1940s, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor and made America very angry. They awakened the sleeping dragon, as the Japanese general said.
Fascinating. And what do you think about that time period?
Well, I think it was full of death and destruction, as I stated earlier in the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In very dark times. Well, America won the war, as we know, and very good times for America after that. So I don't understand why Dylan Thomas is so depressed writing this poem. I don't understand. It does not say in the scroll.
So you think maybe it had no significance over the poem, the time period that is?
I do not think it did. I do not understand.
Fascinating.
Hello and welcome to Poetry Analysis. Today we have Dylan Thomas joining us. Flew all the way from Switzerland to help us analyze one of his greatest works, Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night.
No, I don't think that's correct. He flew from England, is that correct?
Yes!
My mistake. Okay?
Your mistake indeed!
I'm very sorry, Dylan Thomas. Please try to forgive me.
Dylan Thomas is appropriate.
I will now proceed with the analysis. The first stanza, it says, Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should run and rave at close of day. That means at the peak of your life, you're near death, you should fight. Why, don't go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light. Don't accept death easily.
Don't do
Fight
it.
against it. Fight against it.
Just don't do it.
I would think that just waking up from your bed is pretty much fighting it, but yes. Absolute!
Alright, the second stanza, it talks about wise men and how they know they're going to die, but they're still not going gentle into death, into that good night. Especially if they know their life's work is not accomplished.
Well, most of them are senile anyway, but it's more about how...
Yes.
Do not interrupt me again.
Sorry.
It was more about how you just living, you've got this far, you might as well squeeze the rest out of life as you can.
ends for stanza number 3. This describes the good men, the men that performed good deeds in their life. Normally, they would really not care about dying because they know they've already done good. But they still know that they can do some more, so they're not going to just die quietly. Okay, the 4th stanza talks about wild men who just kind of, they were very optimistic during most of their life. And it's not until they're about to die that they really understand that most of their life was actually spent in grief or sorrow. And for the last 2 stanzas, good sir.
Now I read in it says, "Grave men near death who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay, rage, rage against the dying of the light." Is that saying even sad and depressed men can go and remember, like have good memories while they're dying and fight for their life?
Well, of course, you're sad. You're going to use every bit of happiness you can. And that will be enough to die, much like myself, Dylan Thomas.
Okay, that makes sense. And for the last stanza, I believe, since it says, "And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying light." I'm guessing this is your plead for your father to fight for his
This is
life?
much more personal, I believe.
Yes, my father died.
I'm very sorry about that, Dylan Thomas.
You are sorry!
Sorry to hear about.
I'm very embarrassed that I would even bring that up on live television.
We're sorry, guys.
We're sorry.
We can take a moment of silence for Dylan Thomas's. Okay. Stop filming.
I think it's so we got all that correct. We got all the analysis correct.
Correct, absolute. However, there's a different side to it.
Oh, really?
Yes, you could say all of that, which is much more of a metaphorical explanation that is very suiting, but I wrote it about diarrhea.